Hi, I'm Deanna at Key to Music, and this video is part 2 of Introduction to Strumming. So if you've already watched part 1, you'll have an understanding of how regular strumming patterns are produced on a guitar, and now we're going to look at how some of them are written down and how you can get good at reading them and why you should do that. So rhythm notation looks a little bit like the standard notation that all instruments, that little dots, but the note heads are flat instead of being round, and that's how we know that it's rhythm. And they also stretch across 2 or 3 lines. So you're going to see a little example of that on the screen. So whilst there is some element of it being negotiable as to whether it's important to invest the time to learn to read standard notation on the guitar, depending on what your objectives for your playing are, it's well worth learning to read rhythms, because you will be able to transcribe rhythms accurately for songs that you hear. You'll be able to know how long chords last for. You won't be sort of guessing. You'll be able to, when you hear something that's a little bit, is it this or is it that, you're not quite sure, maybe it's in between a beat or something, you'll be able to know exactly how to play that and how to write it down. You'll be able to look at other music and know when you should change a chord. So, for example, let's say you want to accompany a flute player or a violinist or a singer or playing a song or a melody. You'll be able to know exactly when to change chords, when to make decisions about what chords should come in. If you're interested in writing songs, you'll be able to create songs that have interesting strumming patterns. If you want to create your own arrangements of jazz standards or folk tunes or pop songs or rock songs, you'll be able to have strumming patterns that are not repetitive, so you'll be able to create enough variety to keep your arrangement sounding really cool and really interesting. So we're just going to take a quick look at what different note durations look like written down. So the first one we're going to look at, we're still taking a count of 4 as our duration for a bar. A bar is just a measure of music. Music is typically divided into bars so that we can read it. Otherwise, if you can imagine trying to keep count to 523 beats in a song, it would get a little testing. So we're going to take this idea of a bar of 4, and sometimes you might have a note that lasts for a whole 4 beats, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's even a single note. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you play it once, lasts for the whole 4 beats. That's called a whole note, because it lasts for a whole bar. So you're going to see a little picture of that. And then you have a half note. A half note lasts for half a bar, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're strumming these, you want ideally to still be moving your arms. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because otherwise, how will you know how long 4 is? If you're just like, you're going to be guessing. So this helps you know how long 4 is. You can of course count loud, but it might not always be practical to do so. So there we have whole notes and we have half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, missed one there. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they look quite similar to whole notes, but they've got a stem. So this is pretty useful, for example, if you want to write how long a chord lasts for. Let's say you're writing a song or you're writing a transcription of a cover, and you want to indicate that each chord lasts for 2 beats. For example, let it be. When I surf in times of trouble, my to me. Half notes, we know how long each chord lasts for and when to play the next chord. So then we have quarter notes. They last for a quarter of a bar, 1 beat each. That's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that's the downstroke on every beat. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Little side note here, in guitar music notation, they're called whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and then there'll be other types of notes. This corresponds to the classical system of a semibreve, a minim, and a crotchet. So if you're used to those, that's what they mean the same thing. If you've ever done another instrument, like and you learned the classical demarcations, you'll get used to calling them whole, half, quarters soon enough. So that's great. Let's say we had 2 quarter notes and a half note. It would sound like this: 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So that's an easy way for us to know how long each chord should last for and how to strum it. Typically on a chord chart, you'll see a bit of strumming or rhythm written in the bar, and you'll see the chord written above it. So if you've got a G written at the start of the bar and 4 quarter notes, that means that you're going to play a G chord and you're going to strum it on the downstrokes 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then maybe the next bar is still going to be a G, or maybe the next bar you're going to get a new letter at the start of the bar, in which case you're going to change to that chord. So this helps us really know what chord to play, how long to play it for, how to strum it. You'll find a lot of tabs online that have the chords written above the words. That's useful. But it doesn't tell you how long each chord lasts for or what the rhythm is. And it's also impossible to, or very difficult, more difficult, to pick out a repeating pattern. Lots of chords and songs repeat in sections, and the song's much easier to play when you have got the idea that it's these 4 chords going round and round. But when you see them on top of the lines of text in a typical guitar tab, it's harder to extract that pattern. Okay, so they've got quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes, and we are also going to look at an 8th note. 8th note, same as a quaver in classical notation, and there's 2 8th notes in a beat. So what that means, I'm going to clap that. We've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So hopefully you could hear my foot tap. I'll do that again, slightly louder foot tap. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we've got 2 8th notes in every beat. How do we play that on guitar? If I'm going to play all of the 8th notes in a bar, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and all the downstrokes and all the upstrokes. You'll see a little picture of what that looks like. So sometimes the first time you start going for upstrokes with a pick, you can get a lot of resistance. If that's happening, just relax your hand. So you can have it like as if you're sort of flicking water off. You don't want to rotate your wrist like this, kind of clockwise and anti-clockwise. There's going to be a side-to-side movement, but it's very relaxed. So to begin with, your body needs to learn how far away from the strings the pick is. If you're going really close into the strings, you'll get some resistance, and it will be hard to stay in time because you'll be dragging it against the strings. But with a bit of practice, your arm's going to adjust, and it's only going to apply the amount of pressure needed to make contact with the strings. So this is where things get interesting, because as soon as we've got downs and down-ups, that's when we start getting cool rhythms like. And they might be the same rhythm repeated, or it could be. Slightly varied. All of those rhythms were just using 8th notes and quarter notes. But it sounds really cool when you have a little bit of variety like that. So, to recap, we've had whole notes that sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4. We've had half notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. We've had quarter notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. We've had 8 notes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. One really important thing, at no point have I moved my arm more quickly or more slowly. My arm is going at the exact same speed. The only thing that has been changing and potentially affecting our perception of the intensity is where I'm making contact with the strings. But when I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, this is going the exact same speed. So that's what's keeping you perfectly in time. Now, when it comes to strumming in a way that's sympathetic to a song or faithful to the original, typically you don't want things to be too repetitive. If I was only playing this, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would sound like not that exciting after a while. If I was doing this all the way through a song, after a while, that would become very insistent and it might not sound that great either. So most strumming patterns are a combination of different rhythms. You're going to see a set of rhythms that use quarter notes and eighth notes. The best way to get good at reading them is to make sure you're completely clear on how to play each type of rhythm, and if necessary, review this video, pause it wherever you want. Then you can take the examples of quarter and eighth note rhythms below, and you can play through them slowly. It's a great idea to clap them. The absolute ultimate is to tap your foot and count the rhythm, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and... So your foot is tapping on the beat, you're counting the rhythm, and you're clapping what's written down. That is how it's taught in universities. It's using 3 senses at once is in the short term a little bit more demanding. It will feel quite difficult, and you may feel a little goofy to begin with, counting out loud to yourself and tapping your foot, but it really will help you get a very strong sense of rhythm in the shortest possible time. So it's really great to get used to doing that with a metronome or rhythm track. Obviously we've got rhythm tracks for you here. A good way to develop your ability to read it is to start slow, maybe just by yourself so you understand what they mean, then get a slower rhythm track on, then start increasing the speed of the rhythm tracks so that you're reading the rhythms like da, 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 whatever they are, a little bit faster. And then when you're really good at, say, reading one rhythm that's going across a page, you can start reading down the page and up. And that just makes you really quick at understanding the rhythm. When you then put it onto the guitar, with the correct down and up movements that correspond with it, it's going to be really easy for you to actually play the rhythms on guitar because your understanding of them in your mind is going to be totally 100% clear. So, enjoy strumming with quarter and eighth note rhythms. It really sounds cool.